My name is Jackie McMahon. I'm 26 and I came out when I was 19.
My name is Mo. I am 24 years old and I came out when I was 15.
My name is Jenna. I'm 25 years old and I came out when I was 13.
My name is Miles Bond and I came out of the closet when I was 18 years old.
I'm Sam. I'm 32 years old and I came out at 27.
My name is Jacob. I'm 20 and I came out when I was 14.
My name is Nikki Chastain. I'm 25 years old and I came out when I was 24 years old.
My name is Eric Serpio. I'm 27 and I started to, I guess, explore my sexual preferences when I was in high school.
I guess my problem has always been that I've tried to place myself neatly in a box of making one choice. I've always felt like I needed to pick one or the other.
And it's weird too, because I always would picture myself like with a girl and being happy, and I can remember feeling that way all the way up until like middle school.
I remember being the type of person that would kind of unintentionally flirt with girls that I thought were pretty. And I would go home at nighttime wishing I had their smiles or wishing I had their looks. I was just in reality infatuated with them, and to a degree I probably had a big old crush on them.
I guess I never really understood what homosexuality was, what gay was, I guess, probably because I never really cared about any of that.
And it was always different. I never felt like there was someone that I had to be with. I didn't have to be with a girl. They weren't something that I wanted, and neither were boys. I never was really specifically attracted to anybody.
My mom never really talked about people being gay. It was never, she wasn't like against it, but it was just never something she felt like she needed to tell us about. And everything I saw on TV and movies was like a comedy. Like, it wasn't like a serious situation. It was always something to be made fun of. So even growing up and realizing that maybe I felt this way about girls, I didn't think it was a real thing.
The knowledge was there, so I just remember Googling lesbian, bisexual, and I thought, well, okay, I like girls, so maybe this is what I am.
Yeah. During my childhood, I had many signs that I thought, or I felt like I was, or I don't know how to explain it, but where I felt like I was different than most kids.
I've always identified, as a male, but never like a specific role. The straight kids, I felt like I wasn't quite straight enough, and it didn't feel like I was, fully gay. So on like each side, I felt like I could, fit in, but I never really quite belonged. I didn't really have a lot of people to tell. And it was hard to describe because I didn't really know exactly what it was.
I've always really had a hard time choosing my preference, I guess. I've had a really hard time pinpointing that. It's so much deeper than surface, and I like people for the person that they are, a genuine, nice, kind-hearted person. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what you are or what you identify as. I just, if you're a good person, you're a good person.
And then when I got to high school, it started to click for me around like my junior year. I just was curious about men. There was still that part of me that wanted to, be into women, have a wife, have kids, what person doesn't want all that when they grow up?
I started actually being able to put some type of name on what I was feeling when I was 15 years old. I wasn't even trans. I didn't even know what trans was. At 15, I just came out as bisexual because I was like, I don't like boys. So we're just going to get that straight right now. I don't like boys, so we're going to get that over with. Boom.
I think the first time I realized that I was not comfortable being a girl was when probably every Christmas and every birthday party where I got like a dress or anything that wasn't a Pokemon toy or a Game Boy Color, I would just like be so just so sad, like traumatized by the fact that I didn't get like boy toys or boy clothes.
So, so about 14 is when I really started maybe thinking, oh, well, maybe I'm bi, but I would never have told anyone ever that I was thinking about that because, like I said, I'm very internal, and it takes me very, very many years to come to terms with things about myself. So, yeah, it wasn't until like 15 years later that I was comfortable with it.
Back in, I think, about 7th grade, there was a music video that came out from the band Tattoo, All the Things She Said, and I remember I would wake up early to simply record the TV, and I would watch it through to see if I recorded the music video, and I just related it to, I really like this song, this is such a good song, but I honestly think I was attracted to the music video. And it was definitely something that my mother took notice to and kind of like took the tape away and everything.
And I was watching this Glee episode where Darren Criss was on it, and he was kissing his boyfriend, or now boyfriend, Kurt, for the first time. My mom walked in on me watching that episode, and she just asked me, "Miles, are you gay?" And I'm like, yeah.
When I was working down in Florida, my friend that was helping me come to terms with who I was and realizing that it was okay to be gay, and I would see her, and I knew she was out as gay, and she was a little older than I was, and she was totally comfortable with her sexuality, and that was what drew me to her. And we still talked on the telephone every single day after that because we stayed really good friends. And then October rolled around, and she asked me to be her girlfriend. I was super ecstatic. I jumped out of my chair, ran inside the house, and I called her. I was like, wait a second. Are you serious? You really want to be my girlfriend? And she's like, I would be so lucky to have you as my girlfriend. And at that moment, we did this thing called a long-distance relationship, which we all love.
I was married for 3 years. I was 8 months pregnant when I got married. I remember thinking, like, this is not how I always thought my wedding was going to be. Getting ready to go walk down the aisle to marry this guy who's a perfectly nice, great guy, just not the right person for me. I just remember just being like, this isn't right, but what am I gonna do? I'm 8 months pregnant. Like, I can't not marry this guy. We had already planned everything. Like, I can't just be like, sorry, and leave, So, so I was with him for 3 years. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had like almost no friends at the time. And so I told my mom, I was like, I'm gonna join roller derby. And she was like, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea for you because you're clumsy, but maybe you can meet friends that way. So I went and joined roller derby, and then I met her. And there was just something about her. I can't explain it. And then I had a dream about her. And after the dream, I was like, oh man, I totally have a crush on this girl, but what am I supposed to do? I'm married, I have 2 children, she's married, she has 2 children. Like, what do we do about this situation?
Before I went to college, I met a friend, and after a couple months of being friends, we were at another friend's for a party. I use it as an excuse because she was gay. I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to know what it was like to kiss a woman, so I used the excuse, I'm drunk, like, let's make out type thing, and it actually felt a little too good.
With dating women, I usually have only dated lesbians, so with having a daughter, they're like, oh, well, you must be bisexual, and a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth about bisexuals because a lot of girls get drunk and want to make out with other girls, but it's, that's as far as it'll go. So I never wanted to be looked at like that person, so I would try to identify myself as being a lesbian.
We ended up holding a relationship for a year and a half. Mind you, my mom did know about my relationship. Nobody else in my family knew, at least not by anybody telling them. I mean, it's probably very obvious, but because I went to school up in Marquette. Up there with my friends, anybody I met, anybody I knew from school, like, I was out to them. Like, in the UP of Michigan, I was out. And I was accepted for it and very loved for it by everybody. And then it was kind of like I had to pretend who I was anytime I came home.
The first person I told was when I moved back home from Florida, my best friend Russell. And he's been my best friend for 12 years now, and he's been the most supportive person that I've ever met. We're standing there and we're in like the field, and I'm yelling across to him, and I'm like, hey, I don't think people are coming, we can talk now. And so then he would come and we would meet in the center, and then I'm sitting there ready to tell him, and I said, so, you know Heather, right? Yeah, so we're not friends. And then people would come by and he's like, come on, you don't want to hear more of the story. So it was like relentless that he would go back into the maze, and then I'd go back in the maze, we scared people, and then he'd come back out, and then I said, yeah, so we've been talking, I had a huge crush on her in Florida, and then now, like, she just asked me to be her girlfriend, and I'm like super happy, and I'm super excited, and I don't really know how to tell you this, but and I just wanted to scream and say, I'm gay, like, and just say it to him, and I did, and I told him that I was gay, and then as slowly as I was telling him that I was gay, he slowly was telling me that he was bisexual. And when he was telling me that he was bisexual, I began to realize that we had even something more in common than we already do.
The first person I told was my so-called best friend in high school. She was super happy that I told her, but I didn't tell her necessarily that I was gay, or I told her that I had a boyfriend. That's kind of how my way of telling it. The term I try to just, explain to them is pansexual. Is nothing to do with, like I said, gender, but the person themselves, what's inside, what makes them them. If they're a kind person, if, I don't know, it's just who they are, not what they are. It's come up once. It's come up once with each my dad and my mom.
When I was 18 years old, I was just finishing my last year in high school. I came out to my theater guild and my theater group of people, and it was really, I don't want to say awkward because they were really, really nice and really cool with it. I basically just, guys, I have an announcement, and it took me forever to get it out, and the funny thing is I never actually got it out. I waited like 2 minutes before I said anything, and then they said, oh, you're gay, just admit it, you're gay, and I'm like, yeah.
I started coming to terms with my sexuality when I was about 13, when I told my mom. I wasn't really nervous to tell my mom. My mom's always been my best friend, and we've always been really close, so she was the first person that I wanted to tell when I kind of had an idea of what was going on in my head. And we were driving in the car, and I was just like, hey, Mom, I like girls. And she was like, okay, that's cool. And I just kind of accepted it from then on, and it just felt okay to me, and it just felt like the right thing to do.
I tried to tell I live with my grandma. She raised me, so. Then when I graduated high school and I was about to go to college, I wrote her a long note. I don't remember what it says, but it was something about how I like girls, period. I don't like boys, I just like girls. She didn't talk to me for a minute, and then when I went to college, she's really old, so and if you talk to my grandma, she just doesn't want to, if she doesn't want to know something, it'll go through her ear, So, but she was like, look, I've had lesbian friends, but I wasn't a lesbian. You can be friends with lesbians, but you don't have to be a lesbian. I was like, Granny, I'm the lesbian, okay?
Yeah, I identified with lesbian for a while, and then towards the end of middle school, when I was 13, there was another lesbian that came out. And so I kind of felt comfortable with her, and we kind of talked about things a little bit, okay, well, we're not alone, There are other people like this. I was pretty positive that I was transgender, but it was definitely, I guess it was only 6 years ago, but it was definitely something that still people didn't know about, and to me, it was very taboo. So pretty much I just kept it all to myself. But at the same time, I kind of passive-aggressively got my mom to kind of start to let me wear boys' clothes, and eventually I proposed cutting my hair and things like that. I'd been getting really depressed, and it got to the point where I was just I have to tell somebody. And I really hope she's not mad at me for this.
And I remember when I had my first boyfriend in high school, my dad started to get suspicious. He's like, are you gay, or, what's going on with your friend Matt? He comes over all of the time. And I was like, well, we're just, we're really good friends. We like hanging out. And I remember he put his hands together and he was like, I pray that you aren't. So if you are, he's like, I really would like if you would tell me. So I kind of shied away from the question because I really didn't know exactly what to tell him.
I remember calling up my mom. I was supposed to go visit her in a couple weeks because she was very sick at the time. And I was like, okay, so I have to tell you something. She goes, okay. She thought it was more serious than it was going to be. She thought I was sick or something. I couldn't say that I was gay. So I was like, okay, Mom, there's a possibility, kind of, that I like girls, sort of. And she was like, I know. And I was like, well, maybe you could have clued me in a whole lot sooner before I was 27 years old. She said, you're stubborn. So she's like, I knew you had to come to terms with it yourself, or otherwise you would have never have come to terms with it.
It was a pretty casual experience, and it was way easier than I thought. Like, of course, she did express her feelings that she would obviously rather me be with a woman and have kids, and she expressed everything that she was feeling, and to this day I'm still thankful for that because I know what she was feeling. I don't know, it was still awkward, still really awkward. By the end of it, she said, I still love you no matter what. It was really supportive.
When I finally came out, I was in my room on my computer, and I asked her to come in my room. Mind you, I still did not tell her at this point that I was trans or that I liked girls or any of this. It was awkward because I was just sitting on the bed and she was sitting on my computer chair, and eventually she started like going through her email or something. And when she was distracted, I was like, okay, I have something to tell you. And before I said anything else, I just started crying. I just broke down crying, and she's like, what's wrong, like. Then she started getting mad, like, what did you do? Did you do something bad? Or I don't know if she was mad or frustrated that I wouldn't tell her. So finally I said, through my sobbing tears, I was like, I'm transgender. Yeah, she was like, well, what does that mean? And I was like, well, basically, I'm kind of like a boy stuck in a girl's body. And she went on to saying like, well, okay, now what? I was like, well, eventually I want to like cut my hair and get on hormones and have surgery. And I totally understand her reaction, because if my 14-year-old told me they wanted shots and surgery, I might have freaked out too. But she was just like, no.
Well, I was in the hospital and I got my wisdom teeth pulled, and then I just remember sitting in this dark, kind of waiting room, and my girlfriend called me and she was like, so how are you doing? And I said, well, besides drooling all over myself, I'm doing fantastic. And I just chatted with her for a little while, and then I hung up the phone, and then I handed it to my dad. I look over at him and I say, Dad, she's not my friend. She is my girlfriend and I love her. And that's exactly how I said it. And he just looks at me kind of stunned, like, seriously? Did she just say that? And then I just was like, shit, I don't know, did I really just say that? And I was like, still in the moment. And then he looks at me and he says, I know, Jackie, I know. And then he was, from then on, pretty accepting of it.
My dad, though, whom I didn't really have that strong of a relationship with, we, I guess, have an understanding about it. I've never really openly come out to him, but I think he's always known, and he's comfortable with it. And I don't know, I take refuge in the fact that I have 3 other brothers who are straight, so if he ever needs to spread his seed around, it's it's their job. It could be my job. I haven't decided whether I want kids or not, but I don't know, I just always take comfort in that.
I wrote my dad when I first came out as transgender. I wrote him a note, and I sent him a letter. He never wrote back. I was like, did you get it? And he was like, oh yeah. And then maybe 6 months later, he sent me a Facebook message, and he was like, yeah, I got it. I understand you're doing you. I have my own beliefs, so I'm gonna just, Then we had the dinner, and he just said, "You look good." And I was like, "That's what's up, Dad. Thank you so much. That's what's up." That's what I needed. For a long time, I was going through rough patches. And I just needed you to say, because my mom is not here. My mom passed away, and he's my only parent. So I just needed you to say, "Hey, you looking good, man. You're doing good."
My mom, she was the religious side of the family. Her family is all Catholic. My mom asked me one time, and I told her the best that I could. And she's like, "Oh, I just want you to be happy, but just so you know, you can't bring it around the house or have anything to do, in this household around your little brother or your stepdad. That's not what, she wanted around." So I felt like I kind of had to keep everything a secret or just, figure it out on my own.
For a couple months, we didn't talk about it, really. It just kind of still made slow, passive-aggressive attempts for her to come through. My biological father came into my life, and it was a very interesting time for it to happen. And in retrospect, I feel like, I don't know, some divine powers made it happen, because he was very confused at first too. Like when he came into my life, he was like, "All right, I'm gonna help out now. Like I'm gonna buy you clothes and stuff." And we would go to the mall and get clothes, and he'd be like really, really confused as to why I liked none of the outfits that he picked out. And he got really frustrated too. And my mom tried to explain to him that what was going on, and he didn't really even have a comment.
I would casually try to talk to my mom about things, and my mom was more so, "I don't want to hear it, Jackie. I don't want to talk about this. I'm not comfortable with talking about this, and I'm not okay with the situation, so you need to find somebody else to talk to it about." And so then I would kind of talk to my dad, and I'd talk to my friends, and I would do my best to seek advice to try to help myself get over this broken heart.
Right after I told her that, I told my ex-husband, there's this thing. I have this girl that I'm attracted to. I don't know what it means, but I need to explore this. I have to figure this out. Because if I'm feeling this way towards someone, whether they're a woman or a man, being married, I shouldn't be feeling this way if I'm happily married. So regardless of the fact of whether I'm gay or straight or whatever, I think our marriage is over. But he said, go figure this out, and I'll still be here. And I was like, please don't still be here, because that's not what I want. You deserve happiness too, and everyone deserves to find what's right for them.
And he did not talk to me for maybe 2 months. And then one day I got a phone call from him, and he said, "Son, I will support you through everything, and I love you no matter what." And it was really awesome for me, because at the time I didn't really have support at home with my mom and stepdad or my siblings.
My recent girlfriend, my mom has came around and been super accepting, and I'm FaceTiming with her on the telephone, and I'm talking to her, and my mom's asking questions, and she's super interested in my relationship in it. She now gives me her utmost respect. She gives me her honest and brutal opinion, whether I want to hear it or not. And I really do appreciate my mom and dad's opinion and their support. I'm very blessed.
I've never really been able to express it with my family. There's plenty of people who are supportive in my life, and they do know about, me and how I feel about people in general. And they're very cool, but it's hard to not be able to have family members that you can just be normal with.
I think what really honestly made me so comfortable with coming out and finally admitting to everybody who I am was actually I am the editor to the project that we're doing here from here on out. And I was standing here last year, a little over a year ago, watching all these extraordinary people tell their stories, and some were happy, some were very sad. Some people had it really easy with their family, people had it rough, and I think it really made me realize that whether it goes okay or goes wrong, like I still have so many people who will love me and accept me for who I am. And that really hit home. And, you know, I went home and spent hours just editing this documentary, and I think when I was about halfway done with it, I just kind of like put down the mouse and like stepped up from the computer, and I looked at my friend that I was working on it with and just said, you know, I need to go out to the car because I need to call my aunt, because I need to tell somebody in my family, and she's the one that I can trust to give me the okay to come out to the rest of my family. Like, I knew that. And so I called her, and, you know, we had this thing. It's from a movie, Good Luck Chuck, and it's like our movie that we watch and like talk about, and there's the part in there where they, you know, love, love, love you, you know, or I just love, love, love them. So, and that's kind of like my aunts in my way of telling each other I love you. And when I told her, that was the first thing she said. That's the very first thing she said to me. And she just told me, she said, I don't care who you love. She said, you're my niece and I love you very much. And your family, they'll be okay. They might not agree with it at first. She was honest, but she said, you have my support. You have Britt's support. And you're gonna be just fine.
My eldest, she was 7, and she's very much an old soul. She understands things a bit better than my youngest one. She was very okay with it right away. She knew that I was so unhappy with her stepdad, who she viewed as her father, and I think she just wanted us to be happier people. And if that meant that we were going to be happier people separate, that was okay with her. It didn't really matter who I was with. My youngest one, I'm still emotional about it because I'm not sure why she was less. I mean, it had to do with, I think, probably the fact that she was 3 at the time. She didn't understand. All she knew was Disney movies where, you know, princes married princesses. She didn't understand that princesses could also marry princesses. And I remember her telling me, she's like, Mom, you can't marry a princess. And I remember her crying, and she was like, Mommy, stop doing what you're doing and just love Daddy. And I just remember, like, and I couldn't just love her dad. And I wanted to, because that was normal. And that would have been the easiest thing, to love her dad. It would have been easier than having to move out and find a new home. But I couldn't do that, because I knew that they were never going to be happy people if their mom wasn't a happy person.
I don't explain things to my child about my sexual identity, because I think when she's ready to ask questions, she will ask questions, and I will be totally 100% open with her and tell her that she doesn't have to make a choice either. You know, sometimes, you know, mommy will date a girl, you know, and I've been in a relationship with a girl while having my child, and I've never really brought it to her attention enough so she can differentiate. So, because people are people, and I never really wanted her to differentiate that, or just, mommy loves.
I'm just happy. I'm just so happy. It was so long that, it was so long that I was just holding like a huge weight, and then once I fully, like, even when I said I like girls, that really wasn't coming out. I like, that's nothing. It's like when I finally transitioned, it was just a weight. Like when people started saying he, I was like, oh my goodness, you see what I see? You see what I see? That's crazy. You're seeing me now. Cool. When people start seeing you as you don't have to be fake, you know? I don't know. I was faking being a girl for a long time, but now I'm me. The first time I actually can say I was transgender was when I got with my girlfriend, Allison. She had a lot of troubles identifying with herself too, you know? It was a transition for her and for me, you know? And we just, the cool part is we made it. We made it. So, I love you. I love you for sticking it out, even though I was a nasty, nasty boy. I'm just a boy growing up, going through puberty. Thank you for being my baby and just loving me through it.
I told my mom in July that I was possibly bi. I didn't tell her until November that I don't think I'm bi anymore. After I had my first girlfriend, I was like, I think I'm gay, and she's still fine with it because she doesn't care. And then she passed away a month and a half later. So more than anything in my life, I'm just so grateful that I got to share that with her and be like really me. She finally got to see me at 27. You know, she never saw me happy my entire life. Sorry. She never saw me a happy person, and she saw me happy for at least a month before she died. And that's the thing I'm most grateful for, is that she saw me happy for just a little bit, you know.
My mom, instead of this intimidating parental figure that didn't understand me at all, she kind of turned into more of my really close friend. And I think it brought us so much closer. And honestly, that's one of the things about transitioning that I really enjoy. That's why I say I wouldn't not be trans, because I don't think I'd have as good of a relationship with my mom as I do now. And that's something that I'm really grateful for in all this process.
But it took a while too for my grandma to come around, and I just remember, and I still have these, she sent me these. I was at school or soccer or something, and I came home, and then on my desk I had these newspaper clippings about how the Catholics are coming around a little bit more about being okay with gays in the Catholic Church. And my grandma left that at my house, and when I saw that, I was like almost wanted to cry, because it meant a lot to me. Like, I had these newspaper clippings from somebody who was like in this Catholic community, and it was so important to her, and it's still important to her. And the fact that she left something that was like about me and who I am, and it was just her way of showing, look, like, this is okay. And when I saw those, and I saw them sitting on my desk when I got home, and I read them, I kept them, and they mean something to me, because it showed that my grandma was okay and she was accepting of it too.
And my grandma did say, I love you very much. Like, that's never gonna change, but she definitely does not accept it. And I know this because anytime I see her, she'll make a comment like, you need to find a nice guy so you can start having babies, and you're gonna make such beautiful children. And it's just, I've tried a couple times to speak up and say that's not gonna happen. I will marry a woman. Like, it's who I am. That's what I'm attracted to emotionally, physically. It's just, that's what I want. That's my dream life.
Sometimes there isn't a way to describe it, and you just have to do the best you can, just to let people know how you feel, that you can still, you can love them for who they are, not what they are. But not everyone understands that. It is confusing, not being able to slap a specific word on it or a general idea. Some people just, it's kind of hard for them to understand.
It really hurts, and it's really, I feel like, because I had a very strong relationship with my mother and my grandmother and my grandfather. I grew up with them most of my life as a child, and we've all had a very close relationship. We're a very close-knit family that way. And it sucks because by my grandma's reaction, such as that, it's really put a damper on our relationship, because I don't ever want to go over there, because I don't want to be told something that's not true. I don't want to be told how I should live my life and what things should make me happy, because I've spent my whole life doing things for people to make other people happy, and it's time to do me. And everybody has that absolute right to live the life that will make you happy.
For the most part of my life, I'm very, very thankful that I do and that I am out, because I never realized until then how supportive of a friend group and of a family that I have, and I don't think I've ever would have known that if I didn't come out. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm most thankful of, the people in my life and the people that I've attracted in my life, because I was confident enough to come out.
I will not ever tell somebody, like, just come out, just do it, because not everybody's in a situation where they can just come out. So honestly, the best thing that I think right now, we are blessed to have the internet. So there are lots of communities you can reach out to. There are lots of helpful websites. There's just a lot of information out there that we can use.
You're not alone. There's people out there, and you're not the only person who struggle with it. You just have to find those people and connect with them. And when you have a support system, it's easier to be you, because the people who are bringing you down are not your friends. You need to find people who are gonna bring you up and tell you who you are is okay. You know, support. You gotta make sure the people who are around you are lifting you up and not bringing you down.
It's okay. You can be confused. You can not know. You don't ever have to know, because you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. You do it. And you be with the people that treat you the way that you're supposed to be treated. And you don't have to restrict yourself in some small box and think that you need to choose one path, or if you don't, that somebody's not going to like you, because in reality, it really doesn't matter. The people that like you are going to support you no matter what decision you choose to make, whether it changes from the night before to the next morning, or months from now. You never have to make a choice. It's not something that you have to do in your life. It's your life.
You may never figure it out. You can only feel the way you feel and express your thoughts as best you can. Try to let people understand who you are, that it has nothing to do with anyone or anything specific. It's just about love and who you can share those feelings with.
Just who you are as a person has nothing to do with who you love. And, people will either, like I said, forgive you for that and move on and accept it and learn to accept it and be okay with it, or they can get the hell out of your life. Like, that's all I can say about that, because they will probably forgive you, but you will never forgive yourself if you do not live the life that makes you happiest.
It's okay to be who you are, and I wish that I had found out sooner. I'm comfortable with who I am. I like myself. I'm proud to be where I'm at.
I want somebody to realize, no matter how old you are, at 27, 37, 47, you could be 80 years old, and if you're not happy with who you're with, and maybe you're not comfortable with yourself, you can come out, you can change, you can start your story over again, because I didn't want to look back on my life and just be sad and disappointed, and that's one of the reasons why it took me so long to come out, is because I was so afraid of making that leap, of making that change that I knew was going to be so huge. But once you do, it's worth it. It's so worth it. Even though you're going to be in so much more pain, because the girls you're with are going to break your heart worse than any guy that could ever break your heart. Or the guy that you're with is going to break your heart more than any girl you were ever with. But it's worth the heartbreak. It's worth everything that you could ever go through, because now you know yourself. You know that the person that you're meant to be with is out there, and they're not the person that you might have thought that you were supposed to end up with. I definitely didn't realize that at 32 years old, I would be a single mom of 2, looking for a woman to marry when I was 16 years old. I didn't think that this was going to be my life, but I wouldn't change anything. I would definitely not change my journey.
This is about proving that we are here. And that we deserve to be.
Filming, day 1.
That's a wrap.